Official report, Observation Mission Terra 7 from Commander Zixthar of the Valerian Fleet 2, the esteemed Galactic Military Council Re, Human Military Academy Assessment, and why I deserve hazard pay. Greetings, honored council members. I hope this report finds you comfortable in your climate-controlled offices, sipping whatever beverages you prefer, because I have just returned from 3 months of what humans call character building, and what I call a systematic assault on my sanity. You sent me to observe the Terran Military Academy, specifically the one they call West Point, to assess whether these recently contacted humans would make suitable auxiliary forces for the Galactic Defense Initiative. You said, and I quote, "How dangerous could they possibly be? They only discovered faster-than-light travel 40 cycles ago. Oh, how I wish I could travel back in time and slap the optimism out of my past self." For context, I am a decorated officer with 200 years of military experience across 17 campaigns. I have commanded fleets. I have negotiated treaties. I have stared down Krellian war masters without flinching. None of that prepared me for humans. Let me begin that I arrived on Earth expecting to find a proper military institution. You know, the kind we have across the galaxy, structured learning environments, respectful instructors guiding eager students, physical conditioning administered through scientifically optimized programs with adequate rest periods. Instead, I witnessed what can only be described as voluntary torture. It was 0500 hours, which is apparently when humans decide rational thought is optional. A human wearing a hat that seemed angry at the sun was screaming at approximately 40 young cadets. Not instructing. Not teaching. Screaming. At full volume. About their mothers, their life choices, and their apparently questionable existence. The cadets were running. Not away from danger, mind you. Just running. In circles. For no tactical purpose whatsoever. And they kept running until several of them vomited into nearby bushes. Then, and this is the part where I genuinely considered checking my translator, they continued running. You call that effort, Martinez? My grandmother moves faster and she has been dead for 6 years, the instructor bellowed. Martinez, rather than filing a formal complaint about this clear violation of respect protocols, ran faster while shouting, "Yes, Sergeant." In galactic training programs, we use supportive encouragement and positive reinforcement. We have found that soldiers perform optimally when treated with dignity and given scientific reasoning for each exercise. We explain how each movement builds specific muscle groups required for combat efficiency. Humans, apparently, respond best to being told they are disappointing and worthless. You are all pathetic. I have seen retirement home residents with more spine, the sergeant continued. The human smiled. Several laughed. One shouted back, "Love you too, Sergeant." I wrote in my notes, humans possess psychological disorder that makes abuse equivalent to affection. Investigate further. The physical training continued for 2 hours. 2 hours. By the end, every single cadet was soaked in their own biological fluids, gasping for air, and looking absolutely delighted about it. One cadet named Chen approached me afterward, still breathing heavily. "Great morning, right, Commander?" "No, Chen. No, it was not." After the morning's descent into madness, I attended what the schedule optimistically called advanced tactical theory. Finally, I thought, something resembling proper military education. Perhaps we would discuss logistics, supply chain management, or the mathematical principles of battlefield geometry. That I was so wonderfully, tragically wrong. The instructor, a grizzled human named Colonel Patterson, began the lesson by writing on the board, "Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong, will go wrong." I raised my hand, confused. "Colonel, surely proper planning prevents such outcomes?" The entire classroom erupted in laughter. Actual laughter. As if I had told a joke instead of stating basic military doctrine. "Commander," Patterson said with a grin that made me uncomfortable, "humans don't plan for things to go right. We plan for everything to go catastrophically wrong, and then we figure out how to win anyway." He proceeded to teach an entire tactical philosophy based on chaos theory, improvisation, and something he called adaptive problem solving, which apparently means make it up as you go and hope physics is on your side. The first case study involved a historical human named Jenkins who, during a peacekeeping mission, accidentally started a firefight by misinterpreting a friendly wave as a hostile gesture. Instead of following proper de-escalation protocols, Jenkins apparently charged forward screaming, which caused the enemy to assume he was leading a massive assault force. They retreated. Jenkins won. He was promoted. The key takeaway, Patterson explained, is that confidence and aggression can compensate for almost any tactical deficiency. In galactic warfare, we have computers that calculate optimal outcomes. We have artificial intelligence that can predict enemy movements with 97% accuracy. We have centuries of military theory refined to mathematical precision. Humans have Jenkins. Then came the discussion of equipment maintenance. I assumed this would cover standard repair protocols. Instead, I learned about percussive maintenance, which is the human practice of hitting malfunctioning equipment until it works again. But that is not logical, I protested. That is not how technology functions. A cadet named O'Brien shrugged. Works on my truck. It works on everything, another cadet added. Radios, computers, relationships, sometimes you just gotta smack it, Commander, Patterson said with complete sincerity. I began to understand something terrifying. Humans do not plan for order. They plan for chaos, thrive in chaos, and somehow weaponize chaos itself. Every military doctrine in the galaxy assumes rational actors making logical decisions. Humans are not rational actors, they are chaos made flesh, and they are winning. The survival training exercise was when I truly began to fear for the galaxy's future. The premise seemed reasonable enough. Drop cadets into a wilderness environment with minimal supplies and evaluate their ability to sustain themselves for 72 hours. Standard protocol across civilized species involves teaching proper rationing, shelter construction from provided materials, and signaling for extraction. Humans, as I was learning, do not do standard protocol. They were given a knife, a water container, and a fire-starting tool each. That is all. The instructors then flew away in helicopters, leaving 40 humans alone in a forest containing multiple species that could theoretically kill them. The humans were ecstatic. Within the first hour, a cadet named Rodriguez was eating local plants. Not plants from a provided safe food list. Random plants he found on the ground. Rodriguez, what are you doing? I asked, my translator probably failing to convey my horror. Seeing what happens, Commander, he replied, chewing something that looked decidedly toxic. This one tastes like pepper. Probably fine. Probably. If I die, I die, Rodriguez shrugged. But if it's edible, that is valuable intel for the others. He did not die, but he did spend an uncomfortable evening experiencing what humans call gastrointestinal distress. He considered this a learning experience. Meanwhile, a cadet named Williams had somehow befriended one of the local predators. A creature the humans call a coyote, which possesses sharp teeth and a documented history of avoiding human contact. Williams was sharing his rations with it. Williams, that animal could bite you, I warned. Nah, we are buddies now. I named him Steve. Steve the coyote followed Williams for the remaining 2 days. I have no scientific explanation for this, but the truly disturbing part was not the individual insanity. It was the collective resourcefulness. These humans, with almost nothing, constructed elaborate shelters from branches and leaves. They created fishing spears from saplings. They built traps that would make galactic engineers jealous. One group even fashioned a working water filtration system using sand, charcoal, and a hollowed log, and of course, they turned it into a competition. By day 2, different squads were comparing shelters, competing over who caught the most fish, and rating each other's survival techniques. One squad built what they called a spa, which was apparently a heated rock bathing area. For luxury. In a survival exercise. Why are you building recreational facilities? I demanded. Because we can, Commander, a cadet named Jackson replied. Also, it is good for morale. I documented everything with growing dread. In my notes, I wrote, humans are disturbingly resourceful. They do not merely survive hostile environments. They conquer them, befriend the wildlife, and construct amenities. Recommend never invading Earth. They would probably enjoy it. I finally understood why no species had successfully colonized their planet despite its valuable resources. It is not worth the trouble, the humans are already there. The virtual reality combat simulation was supposed to be the one area where humans would conform to proper military standards. After all, the scenario was programmed with specific tactical objectives, enemy placements, and optimal solution paths. Mathematics and strategy, not chaos and improvisation. That I should have known better by now. The exercise briefing was clear. Alpha Squad would execute a standard flanking maneuver while Bravo Squad provided suppressing fire. They had 45 minutes to study the terrain, enemy positions, and coordinate their approach. The instructors provided detailed tactical maps and suggested strategies based on galactic military doctrine. The cadets nodded along, taking notes, asking intelligent questions. I felt hopeful. Then the simulation began, and hope died screaming. Within 30 seconds, the entire plan was abandoned. A cadet named Thompson discovered that by jumping off a cliff and landing in water at a specific angle, he could glitch through a wall and bypass enemy defenses entirely. Thompson, that is a software error, not a tactical option. I protested. But it works, Commander, he replied, already diving off the digital cliff. That is not the point of the exercise. Thompson was not listening. He was too busy glitching through reality itself. Meanwhile, Bravo Squad's leader, a cadet named Harrison, decided mid-battle that the provided plan was boring and that they should try something cooler instead. Rather than suppressing fire, they somehow acquired a simulation tank that was not supposed to be accessible to cadets, drove it through 3 buildings, and used the debris as cover. When I asked how they accessed restricted equipment, Harrison just winked and said, "Creative problem solving, sir." Alpha Squad, seeing Thompson's glitch and Bravo Squad's tank, completely abandoned their flanking maneuver. Instead, they stacked on top of each other to reach a rooftop that was technically out of bounds, then used enemy weapons against their original owners. The simulation devolved into absolute chaos. Humans were exploiting glitches, improvising tactics that violated every conventional warfare principle, and communicating through what can only be described as creative profanity. They won in 12 minutes. The previous record was 41 minutes. The instructor's evaluation was stunning. Excellent adaptability. Shows initiative and unconventional thinking. Well done. I stared at him. They broke your simulation. They exploited enemy weaknesses, he corrected. In real combat, there is no such thing as out of bounds, Commander. These cadets understand that. I sat down and reconsidered everything I knew about warfare. In galactic combat, we follow doctrine because doctrine is proven effective. We trust the plan because the plan is mathematically sound. Humans treat plans as mild suggestions and mathematics as gentle recommendations, and somehow, terrifyingly, it works. That I believed I had seen the worst of human behavior until I observed their social bonding rituals in what they call the mess hall. This is where humans consume nutrition while apparently competing to see who has suffered the most. That I sat with a group of cadets, hoping to understand their culture better. This was a mistake. Dude, remember last week when Sergeant Davies made us do burpees in the rain for 2 hours? A cadet named Martinez said, grinning as if describing a pleasant memory. That was nothing, another cadet, Johnson, countered. Try the 20-mile ruck march in July. I lost 3 toenails. They were comparing suffering. Competitively. With pride. Lost toenails, a cadet named Patel laughed. Garcia over there punched a training drone because it was hovering too close to his face. I turned to Garcia, expecting shame or perhaps concern about disciplinary action. Instead, he was smiling and holding up his bandaged hand like a trophy. Broke 2 knuckles, but that drone learned some respect. Garcia announced to general approval from the table. You punched a machine, I said slowly, because it annoyed you? It was being rude, Commander. In galactic military academies, injuries are documented incidents requiring medical review and incident reports. They are failures of safety protocols, not achievements. Humans collect injuries like medals. Another cadet, Lewis, showed me a scar on his arm. Barbed wire obstacle course, week 3. 14 stitches. Did you receive medical leave? I asked. The entire table erupted in laughter again. I was really starting to hate that sound. Medical leave? Commander, I just walked it off, Lewis said. Walked what off? You required 14 stitches. Yeah, but after they stitched it. Just walked it off. Was fine by dinner. I learned that walking it off is the human solution to approximately 90% of injuries. Broken bone? Walk it off. Concussion? Walk it off. Psychological trauma? Believe it or not, also walk it off. Does walking actually heal these injuries? I asked desperately. Nah, Martinez said, but it shows you are tough. I wrote in my notes, human pain tolerance exceeds all known species. Possibly because they are too stubborn to acknowledge damage. Recommend never engaging in ground combat. They will not stop even when logically defeated. That evening, I requested a medical scan for myself. 3 months with humans was giving me what they call a stress headache. The human doctor told me to walk it off. Final assessment and Narration's esteemed council members, after 3 months of observation, I submit the following evaluation of human military capabilities. First, my official recommendation: never, under any circumstances, go to war with humans. Not because we would lose, though that is a distinct possibility, but because victory would be meaningless. You cannot defeat an enemy that treats physics as optional, pain as motivational, and death as a learning opportunity. Second, the facts as I observe them: humans respond positively to insults and psychological abuse. This makes no sense, but it works. Humans disregard plans in favor of improvisation. This violates all tactical doctrine, but it works. Humans befriend dangerous predators, consume unknown substances, and intentionally injure themselves for status. None of this makes sense, but somehow it works. Humans view software glitches as tactical advantages, broken equipment as minor inconveniences, and certain death as a challenge. I have stopped asking how this works. They do not merely adapt to hostile environments. They conquer them, improve them, and then complain they were too easy. Third, strategic implications: every military simulation we possess assumes rational actors. Humans are not rational. Our predictive algorithms would fail completely. They do not do what they should do. They do what they want to do, and reality appears to accommodate them out of sheer confusion. My strongest recommendation is that we immediately offer humans full alliance status. Not because we need their military support, though we do, but because having them as enemies would be catastrophic for our collective sanity. Fourth, personal notes: I am requesting reassignment to a desk position. Preferably one nowhere near humans. Perhaps in the archives. Or a remote asteroid. Actually, can I just retire? The humans have invited me back next year for what they called even more fun. I have politely declined. Then I declined impolitely. Then I filed a formal declination in triplicate with the Galactic Personnel Office. In conclusion, humanity is the galaxy's most dangerous species, not because of their technology, their weapons, or their numbers. It is because they simply refuse to lose, even when losing is the logical outcome. Respectfully submitted, and I use that term loosely, Commander Zixthar of the Valerian Fleet. Postscript: if anyone asks, I am requesting hazard pay retroactively. And therapy. Mostly therapy. Postscript: a cadet named Chen just asked if I wanted to join their fun run tomorrow morning. I have locked my door. Send extraction immediately.